Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Tough, and because of my car trouble and weird scheduling things, was not able to do a few videos at the end of last week, as well as the one that I had planned tomorrow isn't going to pan out because I just don't have time. So instead of doing all of that, I thought we would just chill, hang out, and do a little bit of hobby progress or hobby hangouts, that kind of thing. And whilst doing so, hang out and chat with you guys. I'm also going to be kind of painting up, doing some base coats on Gloomspite Gitz for my Gloomspite Warband for Warcry. And then actually I have my books here. I'm going to start planning out sort of the games that I want to be playing for my narrative stuff that I do on the channel. And so I thought, you know what? I'm excited about it. Why not just invite an open discussion about it? So we'll go to the downward cam here because nobody wants to stare at my mug. So, oops, sorry about that. Bumped the camera. Did not mean to. So there we are. Let me get settled in here. So, we'll start with the Gitz right in front of me, just because that's what y'all are looking at. So I have, this is the Underworld's Warband. So it comes with a pair of squeegs, a net guy, three bows, a fanatic who I don't know if you guys are also double check that, and one that I can use as a leader, or two I can use as leaders. Cool. So because there's not really a shaman, for the grots in the game. So, and next to that, of course, you can see here I have a box of squig hoppers to get me some extra punch. And this is it. This is an entire stinking army. So what I'm gonna do, while I'm kind of throwing out my Zarbag's Gitz, fanatics don't have rules. Thank you. Yeah, they don't. So he's not high on my priority list. Boop, he goes up there. So let me take a look here. Let me grab my Warcry stuff out of my bag. Here's my book. We're gonna need that. Bunch of tokens. What do we got here? I haven't actually touched my Warcry stuff in far too long. The Gitz dude should be in here. Here we go. Let's just see what our options are. And there's my squig boys. Sweet. You can use them as a loon boss. I got a few guys I can use as a loon boss. So I see people in the chat. Hello, everybody. I'm going to be starting painting some Gloomspite Gitz guys for Warcry, and then also just kind of having the book open, chatting about the campaign and stuff that I want to do. Okay, so we have a few different, so it looks like all the variants of guys on squigs. Okay, yeah, there's the unit leader, there's a base dude of the armored ones, and the same thing for the others. Okay, cool. Squig, we got two of those. A Stabadoo. We actually don't have a basic stab in Zarbag's Gitz. We have two of them, one of him, and oh, that's a leader. Okay, yeah, we can use that one guy's leader. Sweet. Okay, so that's most options. This is a herder for the various squigs. Okay, we can use that. We can do something with that. What can we do? So maybe we can I can use him as a herder. Okay, cool. So I wanted to make sure, I'm not wasting my time painting up something I don't need to, like the guy on the wrecking ball chain. So, oh, totally missed these cards that are right in front of me. All right, so I have this and monsters and or mercenaries as a supplement. Let me get, yeah, well, the sticker got on it. Okay. And so I want to focus on, so people have been asking like, hey, how come there's no lore for these things? It's because they give you a paragraph of lore per warband, so I'm slowly working through other ways of getting that. Come on, here we go. So I'm going to pull up the narrative section with the warband roster. So I'll put this at a high level so people in the chat can kind of chime in. Put these off to the side whilst I get my paints ready for these things. What I intend to do is I basically want to do one more one-off narrative game where I just play whatever. And the reason for that is I got some fantastic feedback on the last one that I did, as far as like the dice rolls that people actually want to see and that kind of stuff, like the meaningful interactions that folks do want to see. So I'm going to be doing that. Kind of fine-tune the process is really what that one's about. So get a battle report style that I can do and that people like. There's only people who have improvements, but that's, I want to satisfy the masses. And then from there, I want to dive into a campaign. I want to dive really, really hard into a campaign. I'm going to be doing one locally with my buddy Max at my local game store, because he's also someone who is into campaign play. And the fact that we can, you can take your campaign wherever you go kind of thing, is really, really intriguing to me specifically. So yeah, that's kind of the plan right now, is we're going to dive into doing campaign play. And then those games won't be reflective of like what I do in the channel. Like the channel is going to be its own separate story arc thing. But I'm going to start doing those campaigns locally to start getting a feel for upgrading characters and taking damage and having a roster. That way when I do them on the channel, all of a sudden it'll make more sense. It'll be smooth since I'm not trying to figure it out as I go kind of thing. So yeah, I'm torn right now on what faction to do the campaign as. I'm torn between Corvus Cabal was always my favorite, and I have those done and painted. I can show off my warbands here in a bit if you are interested. So I have the basic dude, Corvus Cabal, and then also the Untamed Beasts, who I had very little interest in until I actually painted the models recently. And I still have to get good pictures of them and throw them online. I think they came out amazing. And really, really like those models. And they might be more my playstyle in terms of, aggression balanced with number of models, that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm a little torn on which one to really, really focus on, at least for the first, and that's the thing where it's like, if it goes well and I have fun doing it, there's going to be more. So it's not about who gets the only campaign, it's about who gets it first. So let's see, I'm going to look in the chat here. What are we doing today? Selling Iron Jaws? Nope, no selling Iron Jaws. Let's see. Dread Nautilus, what are your thoughts on the Ogre Maw Path campaign rules in White Dwarf? I haven't gotten my White Dwarf yet, so I don't know. Doug, if you want to try a basic Gitz, then Bounder Boss, Hopper, 2 Squigs, Netter, 3 Bow Gitz is a nice mix. Okay, cool. I'll try it out. I'm just going to build with what I have, and then I'll kind of go from there. The Gitz, the first time I played against them was with my buddy Max, who was doing the campaign thing, and we were just playing around with the rules, and he inadvertently spammed a whole bunch of dudes. When you're first playing, you don't know how devastating stuff's gonna be, and he did not realize that, and so all of a sudden just straight up stomped me. And it was a good time. We were laughing a lot. That was like when we were doing demos, so it's not like we're out for blood or anything. But we both laughed quite a bit, and it got me enough to be like, I wanted to do that army, because if nothing else, like, their ability to gang up on others is just good. Let's see. George Shaw, question. How's the Tau you got? I just got the commander and gonna get a battle force later. I might sell the Tau. I got them at a steal because somebody was getting out of the hobby. And, you know, I had a weird week. Let me talk to you about my week. I got very burnt out for a short time because just 4 battle tomes in a month is too much for me in terms of producing lore content. Because my notes are very extensive, I take a lot of time to do lore videos. And I got kind of tired. And so what I do when I get tired is I look for other things that just seem fun and interesting. And so I actually started down a rabbit hole looking into Necromunda as far as content to do in the future. And that plan's, it's going to happen, but it's not something I'm rushing to do. It's going to be several months. Anyway. And then I was like, that's not helping me relax, right? It's just one more thing to do. Why am I thinking about Necromunda? And so then I was like, you know what if lore videos are stressing me out right now because there's so much to do and people are always asking for more. What is something that I want to do that can keep me very excited about the hobby? And I was like, you know, I really enjoy doing that narrative battle report for Warcry. I have huge plans for what I want to do for Warcry, and I have done absolutely none of them because I keep getting bogged down with other stuff. Not just lore stuff, that's everyone's favorite, but I mean just other stuff, other kinds of content, live streaming, that kind of thing. And so I was like, it was actually as I was going to wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend. That's funny. Sorry. So basically, what I decided as I was driving to go pick up my car, which was one more stressful thing that I just took off my plate, and it's not working. So everyone's take a deep breath of relaxation for me. I was just like, you know, I just need to do stuff that I enjoy sometimes, and people will wait for the lore a little bit. Someone asked if there's gonna be more free cities lore. Yes. The thing is that I covered the big factions that people were really excited about. You know, like the dispossessed, people have been waiting forever. And so there is more coming. I just wanted to address the Bone Reapers and the Maw tribes first before anything else. So there will still be lore videos coming. I just need to get excited. You know what I mean? Just period. Just recharge, have some fun. I wanted to do, when Warcry dropped, I wanted to do this whole series about like how each faction plays, not from like a hardcore tactics standpoint, but like, you know, what kind of narrative does this faction really fit into? So for example, like Corvus Cabal, it's always rooftops and elevation, right? So playing with just the graveyard, not as fun as it could be with others. So that kind of stuff. Just like creating fun moments and that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, there's been a lot of that. A lot of like self-made anxiety, and then a moment of zen where I was just like, you know what, dude? You know what, man? Just have some fun. Do some fun content. I have so much stuff. If I had time to do all the content that's in my head, like I have a spreadsheet with like video ideas, it's like I could bang out a video every single day, but unfortunately time does not permit, and so I have to prioritize what people are asking for, which right now is just give me all your lore because of all the battle tomes that dropped. And they are exciting. Like I had this moment this morning I put in our group chat where I was just like, I'm tired of doing lore videos. It's like, I'm not tired of the lore. Like I'm so, like the Ossiarch Bone Reaper stuff, I just cracked into it this morning. Super freaking cool. Like really excited to do those videos. Still got to make an intro. Like my weekly, you know, lore week intros. But it just like, man, it's a research intensive. My brain's not firing like it used to. So that's kind of why I think I meandered a little bit into looking into Necromunda, which, you know, again, I like this small summer scheme stuff. That's going to happen because I can do that in my apartment. And I'm much excited. But, like, Warcry is definitely my jam, if nothing else, man, for the simplicity. If you guys have not played Warcry, go do it. Do it. You won't regret it. So, what else? That was my little discussion on why I'm doing Warcry stuff and why I'm focusing on that. These little Gloomspite Gitz guys, they were actually not 15 minutes ago in a pile of stuff that I'm planning to sell. And I was like, you know what? No. If I want, Warcry to be a major staple of the channel, which I do, it's something I wanted when it was released. Pull them out, get to painting. Same goes for some of my Death Guard stuff, because I was very, very excited to do Kill Team, which is the same scale, like literally the exact same table size. No, pull that stuff, well, some of it out. I don't need the vehicles, but I need the troops. And let's do some campaign stuff for that too. So I'm kind of had a little bit of a hobby high moment when I was picking up my car. I think part of it was, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, let me know if you have, where just like, when you remove a big thing of stress or a big stressor, all of a sudden your brain has room for creativity and getting excited about things. And that's honestly what I think happened tonight, where like this car thing has been going on since Thursday, right? Yeah, I brought it into the shop Thursday, and all this warranty crap and the manufacturer bickering with the mechanic and that kind of stuff all started then. And so I've just kind of been like anxious for several days now. And once the minute, like as I was driving to get my car, that stress was removed, I was just like, I can get excited about stuff again. I can plan things. I can get, you know what I mean? I don't know. So I don't know if that happens to anybody else, but it does to me. Let's see. So what Gloomspite models you're painting? This is the warband from Zarbag's Gitz from Underworlds. Yep, it's the Underworlds warband plus a box of squigs over here. The squig rider dudes, not the actual base squigs. And I'm using that as my basis for a Gloomspite Git army in Warcry. Obviously, this would be a super sad army in Age of Sigmar. Just 10 dudes. Let's see. Luke's now playing Broken Gitz for Warcry, I see. Have never played them yet. I got them because I really, really wanted these models. But outside of Warcry, I have no reason to. I guess, I mean, I've thought about it more and more now that I have, I've been so enraptured with the Warclans book, because Gloomspite Gitz can ally to all the different allegiances. They can go Iron Jaws, Bone Splitters, or Big Wa, which is a really cool feature that they put in there. Like they actually took the time to give each of those their own ally matrix, basically. So I thought that was kind of a neat thing that I wasn't really expecting. Well, I don't know if I wasn't expecting it. I just didn't think about it. And then I saw it and I was like, oh, I thought of that. So I've considered Gloomspite Gitz, and then I was like, you know what? I shouldn't buy any Gloomspite Gitz. I should wait for that holiday bundle, because I was pretty sure, they were going to be one of the bundles. And then the bundle came out and it just didn't really grip me. I don't know if you guys are that way. Like when you saw the Gloomspite Gitz bundle, was anyone else just like, eh? I don't know what it was. It didn't scratch the itch, and so it didn't, or it's not going to get purchased. I don't even know if they're for sale yet. Very yeah, this is my meditative state. You're in it. The bundle is not amazing. Yeah, I guess my biggest thing was, if I was ever going to add Gloomspite Gitz to my army, which I again, totally might in the future, I really want to focus on squigs, because the idea of an all-mounted shock army of squigs and pigs, right, with all the, because if I do Big Wa, I have access to my Maniac Boar Boys from my Bone Splitters. I have, obviously, Gore Gruntas. Like, just a full cav army of that sounds super fun. But I don't know. not a huge rush. The box, some of the value comes from like the Trogoth models. I'm like, they don't fit into that. I don't know. Yeah, so scattered. That's a great way to put it. It is kind of all over the place. That's a good word for it. So yeah, scattered sounds like how I build an army. It usually is for me too. One of the things that Jack from Reeling Ones often says, I think he's in the chat, I'm not a bad player. I just only play the stuff that I like the look of, right? Or I'm just like all over the place. Like, oh yeah, these guys look cool. These guys are cool. And what's been nice with the mod tribes is that there's like only like 6 units really. There's like 3 different kinds of foot troops. You got Ardboys, Brutes, and Gruntas, right? Unless I'm missing one. I can't think of if I am. And then your heroes, right? And it's just like, if you like those, you will like this army, and you can pick whatever you want in that sandbox, and it's probably going to be all right. No matter what you pick, it will fit in what is it? Iron Fist, Ard Fist, the battalion. I don't know. In terms of my hobby ADD, like, you know, jumping around on faction to faction, that battle tome has been the best thing for me in terms of I've been playing it, played it a few times. I'm taking it to an event this weekend, and at no point have I, since getting the book, been disappointed when I play it. It's just always a fun experience. I had a hot second when I was like considering the Maw tribes, because I like how simple their battle tome is. It's even more simple and straightforward than War Clans, I think, personally. But I was like, no, I already have a War Clans army. They look great. I was tempted by Bone Reapers because GW was kind enough to send me some, but I was like, it's not something I was passionate about. I think I just got excited. Okay, Skaven one is okay, but has a start collecting as part of it. Yeah, that's the weird thing. Like, that one was an interesting one where the Skaven one and the Nighthaunt one, I thought I was more jazzed about the Nighthaunt starter box or the holiday bundle than say the guys on Warhammer Weekly. I was jazzed about that one because like it comes with one of everything, but you don't need like a lot of spam in that army. You can take a few different things and they can do different jobs, but I still feel like they work well together. Like that was one where I was like, oh, that is a sweet set. No interest whatsoever in that army, but if I did, I would be all about that noise. Looks like I'm just looking for the Skeleton Horde contrast color. Here we go. What do people think of the Stormcast Force? If you like Sacrosanct Chamber stuff, it's awesome. It's a very specific chamber, which they usually are when it comes to the holiday bundles for Stormcast. So that one was like 6 of the Evocator kitties, like the guys riding the cats. A unit of them on foot, so that's a lot of spellcasting. It's a lot of buffs because their spell lore is buffy. Yeah, it is effective on the table. If your opponent doesn't know what it does, you will lose friends. But in terms of like, if you're looking to like completely start an army from scratch, yeah, if you like those models, that's not a bad start whatsoever, really. What's nice is that if you like those models, you can hop onto eBay after you've kind of grown comfortable with those, and pick up people who are getting rid of the Stormcast half of Soul Wars. And you can like fill up your ranks of Sequitors and Evocators really, really quickly and easily and cheaply. So that's kind of a nice little thing you can do because, it's just because it's those specific models. So yeah, I like it. I don't dislike it in any way, shape, or form. Sorry, I'm just looking for any kind of bone parts that are not part of the base here. Here we go. Nope. Stormcast box is really good value. Yeah, I believe it is. Yeah, but onto the other thing with the Skaven. The fact that it is the Pestilence box. If it was like swap out the Plague Monks for anything. Omniphage in the chat just put Stormvermin. That would be a great choice. But like even just more clan rats. Because if you're getting started, you just need a bunch of rats. That's fine. But Plague Monks are very specific. And the fact that they also come in their own starter box. Like if you wanted them, you've had ample opportunity to get them, right? It's not like Gloomspite Gitz where there's not a star collecting box yet kind of thing. Where it's like, oh, I was looking for an all-in-one onboarding point. Boom, here it is. It's like, no, that one's already been around for a while. Doesn't feel very special, very holiday bundly. Just missed a few spots with the gray. Here we go. Okay. That's drying. That needs to dry. Pretty much everything needs to dry at this point. So what I'm going to do is put these guys off to the side just a smidge. We're going to crack open our campaign books. That's what I wanted to do on the chat. That's the thing. Usually when I reach this point when stuff just needs time to just sit there and dry, that's when I'm like, well, guys, I'll see you later, because I refuse to have the show where we literally watch paint dry, but now we got something else to do, so. I'm just pulling up the page. Okay, campaign section. This is, I do, the one thing about this book that just speaks to my heart is the fact that the match play section is like the smallest in the book. It's the smallest section there is. Okay, so we have, that is for the Iron Golems. We're going to go to the Corvus Cabal, and we're going to pick, whoa, there we go. Okay. So here's what I want to do. And folks in the chat, if you have opinions, go ahead and let me know. This is a communal project until I start filming, and then everything's mine. Because it would take too long to, you know, crowd idea everything at that point. So basically, in the core book, you're given 2 campaigns for the Chaos factions, right? All those this game specific factions outside of the Spire Tyrants and whatever. And so I'm going to read the descriptions of these 2, and we're going to pick them. Pick which one we do first. Okay, this is for the Corvus Cabal, and then I'm going to read 2 for the Untamed Beasts. I mean, just whatever of those 4 sounds the coolest. That's the first one we're going to do. Boom. What else? The way that I want to structure this, if you're not familiar with how these campaigns work, basically, you just play a series of games, and you keep track as the player. So obviously, if I'm hosting the campaign for the channel myself, it's going to follow the story of one thing, and then one warband, and then they'll change and evolve, and we'll get to follow how they evolve towards over the time. Yeah, and so that's really what it is. It's a series of games, and every like third or so game is what they call a convergence, which is just instead of drawing cards or doing your own thing, you have to play this exact mission. Some are slanted against you to be extremely difficult, some not so much. It's kind of all over the place. So anyway, with that all out of the way, we will dump into the, oh, here's the Untamed Beast. Okay, we'll start with this. We'll just go in order. So Untamed Beast, option number 1, okay? Archaon the Everchosen will never grant the Untamed Beast a place in his great hunt unless they offer a worthy tribute. Archaon's a badass. The tribe must prove its devotion and its power. You will hunt the fiercest of beasts, legendary ash drake known as Firescar, a serpentine horror that has preyed upon the Bloodwind spoil for as long as anyone can remember. When you travel to the gates of the Varenspire with the Felbeast's skull upon your shoulders, its hot blood slathered across your chest or your flesh, surely then the Ever-Chosen will know the might of the untamed beasts. So this story arc would be a series of games of me hunting a colossal dragon and encountering various other warbands along the way. Okay, so that's option number 1. Looks like, yeah, Rival Hunters is the first one. Yeah, okay, they have different names for the different missions anyway. So there's that. The second one is, even amidst the scarred wilds of the 8 points, your rivals cling to falsehoods of civilization, cowering behind bladed palisades and high watchtowers. Such cowardice disgusts you. The predatory creatures of the Bloodwind spoil are many and terrible. You will drive them into a killing frenzy and stoke their savage fury until they descend upon the slums of Karngrad, the main city within the Bloodwind spoil, in a tide of ripping fangs and tearing claws. Then the weak-blooded citizens of this realm will know the true might of the untamed beast. So this is you purposefully pissing off everything, all the creatures in Karngrad. If you're not familiar, so these two are the untamed beasts, who they hate all civilization. They are the orcs of humanity, right? Of just tear it all down, no buildings, just mobile nomadic life, very primal, hunter be hunted, very much like Gur kind of focused, obviously. And let's see, the final mission here. Apparently you unleash the beasts, and so you're fighting your way through all the different monsters as well as your opponent who are trying to like survive. So interesting stuff. Obviously this one uses monsters. The last one here is Rampaging Beasts is the twist for the mission, so you have to play with all the monsters going berserk. And so those are the two for the Untamed Beast. We're hunting a monster, or we're using beasts to tear down civilization. Next option, this is now the Corvus Cabal. There's 2 options for them. So we're going to do a vote here in a little bit. The Corvus Cabal, first one. The stroke of a knife can bring down a kingdom or an empire. There's great power in murder, and there are no finer practitioners of the art than the Corvus Cabal. It is why... It is why the call of the Ever-Chosen summoned you from afar. It is common knowledge on the streets of Karngrad that 2 of the 7 talons who rule over the city, Veska, Mirror Eye, and Brand Headsplitter, are on the verge of bloodshed. Both talons command and many hundreds of hired killers. If the right throats are cut, open conflict will break out between them, and the streets would be littered with carrion, a fine offering to the great gatherer. So they're trying to incite a gang war. That's kind of fun. What else? None of their twists focus on beasts. It is about a gang war. All right. And the next one, the Slanesh worshipping Gargant, Isiphus the Bloated, once roamed the 8 points, gorging himself obsessively, not just upon the flesh of mortals, but also piles of jewels and treasures that he stole during his many rampages. Eventually, Isiphus grew so obese that he could no longer move or even stand. The Gargant's appetite remains insatiable to this day. He gladly vomits up the valuables in his belly to any who offer him new or even more decadent tastes. A thriving market shantytown of illicit pleasures has formed around Isiphus's immense bulk. Such a rare bounty might even appease the burning avarice of the great gatherer, if only for a moment. So, that one's a little more out there. What are you trying to do? You're trying to get a giant to throw up treasure. That's kind of my weakest one. So, okay, everybody. So here we go with the voting, okay? As far as the inaugural campaign of Warcry on the channel. So we're hunting a dragon, sorry. We are causing chaos in a city by unleashing monsters upon it. or causing a gang war. I will let you guys choose. I'm not really taken aback by the one where you're trying to get a giant to throw up. But yeah, I'll leave that open to voting. You guys go ahead. I'm just going to double check that I have everything I need. I should. I still have the beasts and all that kind of stuff like that. Giants vomiting up Jules is the weakest. Take it back. It's just that it doesn't have like a finality of just like the satisfaction of seeing a dead dragon as you bring the skull to Archeon, or beasts run wild as you hate civilization, or blood in the streets flowing as there's a gang war that you incited. Just like, and he barfed. It just didn't grip me in the same way. Okay, my mic's back on. Sorry, my computer's been doing that lately where it just kind of clicks off the mic. I'm not sure why. Let's see. We got 2 for the gang war. Alright, I'm going to give it... Let's see. Wish I had a countdown thing. I should get one of those fancy YouTuber things where they put the little number for countdowns in the corner. I'm going to give it another minute or two. Let folks... you can say hunt... I don't know of a good one-word thing for the second one. So you have a dragon, beasts, or gang. You just want to throw one word in there. I know you guys are probably painting or driving and that kind of stuff. So hunt that chimera dragon. Hunt. Okay, so we've got what? 3 for the hunt, 2 for gang war. And Omniphage is still really pressing the giant who barfs treasure. Okay, and that is 2 more for hunting the dragon with the untamed beast. I think that's a pretty much runaway victory there. As much as there's going to be from the 31 people watching our stream. So, sweet. Done. That is the plan. So for this, what? I need to have the beasts painted because the second one uses the corn turkeys and the gargoyles, or whatever they are. So yeah, I will go ahead and start working on this. Let me go ahead and grab them real quick. 1 second. These are going to be our dragon hunters that we get to know. So I'll see how well I can hold it up here for the camera. My light box isn't quite in with it. Omniphage, have a wonderful night. So yeah, so we have the untamed beasts. Got some metal. I kind of went for more of a traditional chaos with like the blackened fur and the bright red cape kind of thing for him. Did a whole mix of skin colors where I have very pale white, a tanned flesh, and dark skin. And this actually, I'm surprised. So I found out that if you do Cygor Brown, 1 part Cygor Brown to 2 parts of the mixing medium, it is like bottled, I don't know, African American skin. It goes into the cracks so well and darkens and highlights and shades. They look terrific. It looks like I did 3 layers, but I did not. Yeah, I got Bonesaw Guy. He's pretty cool, pretty rad. So yeah, they're just a collection of different kinds of fur. I basically just did, honestly, they're mostly contrast with a few little highlight dry brushes. Here's my beastie. Anyway, I'll get the light box out because it takes way better pictures. But I got to come up with names for everybody. And what else? Yeah, I got to come up with a mission. I'm not actually, since I'm doing that one, and I painted them so recently that I remember the scheme, I'm actually probably going to grab a second box. This way I can have different, I got to have my whole roster, right? The whole thing, if you don't know how campaigns work in Warcry. Basically, you see, I can show. Those are more things. We have background tables. Here we go. Names for they have a name generator and everything like that. Murder Hobo, a city with ticked off monsters. Let's see. Yeah, so we'll do that. Let's see. D10. I'm gonna pull up a D10 generator here. Hey everybody, I am back. Is everything working for you guys? Hey everybody, I am back. Is things working again? Someone give me a check. Okay, working now. Very strange. Wonder if I accidentally hit something as I was pulling up my D10 roller thing. Okay. Sorry about that. Working, okay. If it's still not working for you, refresh your pages, and it should. Okay. So yeah, coming up with names and stuff. I was looking for something, and then I got super distracted. Looking for the part where it tells you how to actually run the campaign. Yeah, there we go. Back. Thank you. Yes, campaigns. Okay. Sorry, I got really thrown off there. So in the back of this, there is the war campaign roster sheet, which you can also, of course, print off from the interwebs. Nice. So I'm just going to breeze through this real quick. And all this stuff will happen. Let me ask you guys a question here. With this kind of stuff, in terms of, you know, if fighters if they have artifacts or they get killed, like, would you want to see those dice rolls happen after the video or be like a follow-up? You know what I mean? So like it'd be like episode 1 and here's the narrative battle report. And then there's like a secondary video that's like aftermath, or just do the narrative thing, have it close off, go to black, and then reopen with like, hey guys, Doug here, we're going to actually roll the dice and see what happened kind of thing. You guys tell me. I'll give you some time to answer that. Sorry, I'm like obsessively watching my feed now to make sure that everything's working for no reason. So after choosing a campaign quest, which we just did, you will need to fill out a warband roster. First, note down the campaign quest you have chosen, then fill in the other areas of the player warband information, such as your warband's name. You can draw inspiration, blah, 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 blah. I'll come up with a name, do something cool. The warband roster has space for 1 leader / favored warrior and 10 fighters. For a full 20-strong warband, you will need 2 copies of this page. The next step in completing your warband roster is to add fighters to it. Your warband roster is the pool of fighters from which you will pick up to 15 when mustering your warband. So what that means is I'm going to write 10 unit entries down here. And then it says you need 20, so 2 sheets. So I'm going to write 20 total. And then when I go to play a campaign game, that is the roster from which I can pull troops. And also, as they die, you nix them off. And it says maximum of 15 because that's the limit you can take in a specific game. Of any game of Warcry, you can take 15 dudes. Before your first campaign battle, you can add up to 20 fighters to your warband roster. These fighters can total any number of points. I mean, you can pick whatever unit you want, but it should contain at least 1,000 points worth of fighters to allow you to field a full warband during your first campaign battle. Meaning, don't do anything that means you can't put together a valid list. You do not have to add the full 20 to begin with. You can instead choose to add additional fighters as the campaign progresses. You'll be able to add and remove fighters from your warband roster after each campaign battle. When adding fighters to your warband roster, you must adhere to the following restrictions. Your warband roster can include at least 3 fighters. Oh, must include, yeah, the normal stuff for list building. At least 3 dudes. Can't go more than 20. All fighters added to your warband roster must share the same faction. There can only be 1 fighter added with your warband with the leader rune mark. It's all about harping on the story of that hero's rise to glory. And so then there is the campaign progress tracker, which is literally just, it tells you when to do, how many games you need to play between your convergences, the narrative missions, and that kind of stuff. So now that I read through that, I've seen that there's some responses in the chat. I think having it all in one video is best. Then it's like a second 5-minute video. That's a good point. I'd rather see the rules in the initial video. It feels like it's more connected. Cool. Okay, done. I'm glad that cleared that up. And there are destiny levels, which that kind of stuff when it comes to gaining artifacts and destiny levels, that's stuff that I would take care of in that 5-minute clip. You know, the little follow-up clip to getting the nitty-gritty rules done. So when to play a campaign battle, players use the core rules for setting up a battle with the following amendments. When mustering a warband for the battle, all fighters chosen must be taken from your warband roster. Of course, we talked about that. Players may be able to muster more than 1,000 points of fighters if they have dominated territory, which we'll talk about in a sec. After playing the battle, both players must complete the aftermath sequence. That's the part that I'm most fuzzy on, so I want to read about that. Convergences are when they choose basically the cards for you to create a very specific feeling thing. And that's awesome. So now we'll talk about the aftermath. And basically convergences are like important checkpoints in your quest. You get pretty much stuck there until you can beat it. All right, so aftermath. This is the part, honestly, this interests me the most. When people start getting beat up, that kind of stuff, losing favor and junk. So, after each campaign battle has ended, both players must complete a series of steps referred to as the aftermath sequence, what we're doing right now. And this would be what's at the end of my narrative battle reports. There are seven steps in the aftermath sequence, and they have to be completed in order. Earn and spend glory points, make injury rolls, roll for destiny level, add or move fighters, search for lesser artifacts, advance the campaign tracker, and earn artifacts of power or command traits. Interesting that it has to be in order. So, okay. After playing a campaign battle, each player receives a number of glory points as described in the table below, and it gives you basically, it just kind of gives you money for showing up, and you can spend those to do stuff. So if you took part in a campaign battle, you're always going to get 1. If the leader of your opponent's warband was taken down, 1. At least 1/3 of your fighters in your opponent's warband were taken down, that's another 1. At least 2/3 of the fighters in your opponent's warband were taken down. Okay. All the fighters in your opponent's warband were taken down. If you win the battle, you get 5. So, and this is a game where, because of how objectives work, you can wipe out your opponent and still lose, right? Because if they had enough points and you can't recover back. So I like the fact, now if you just absolutely nut stomp your opponent and you do all of those things, you will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 glory points. But that, you know, I don't know how often that's actually going to happen. I have yet to have a game, like I've lost plenty. But I've never had a point where I feel like every dude died plus I lost the game. What else? Yeah, so on average, I'm trying to think of the games that I have played. I think that I would on average earn between 3 to 7 glory. I'm trying to think. Yeah. Let's see. Players note down their total glory points on their warband roster. These glory points are kept from battle to battle during the campaign until spent. So you can save them. You can bank them. Missed the first part of the stream. Is he doing Gitz just for a Warcry? Yes, I am. Yep, I got the Warcry bug back. Apathy Kitten. Oh, thank you so much. Donate some money. Just wanted to stop by and say hello. Well, thank you so much. That's super kind of you. Hugh, what are we reading? This is the Warcry book. It should be the cover art for the video. I'm getting excited and ready to do a campaign now that my terrain is done. And so I'm just going to do a few practice games, make sure I'm super, comfy with the rules, and then do a campaign thing. So what I'm doing right now in this video is walking through, right? I'm pulling an Ed Sheeran and thinking out loud about how I'm going to do this. And the folks have been really helpful in the chat with helping me in terms of we picked a faction and a campaign quest. So we're going to play the Untamed Beast, hunting a giant dragon. And y'all have been super helpful when it comes to, now that I'm in the nitty gritty, how does this transfer to video, right? And so how do I do my little segments at the end talking about this kind of stuff, right? The campaign aftermath sequence. Players can choose to spend glory points straight away to dominate an area of territory. Each campaign quest has its own territory rules on how to dominate territory. So let's take a look. Actually, it's the other way. Because, of course, they put the how to play a campaign section very, very far away from the actual campaign things. So let's see. You can spend 10 glory points to dominate a territory by raising a monolith. Okay. Mark on your warband roster how many territories you dominate. Dominating a territory offers the following bonuses. For each territory dominated by your warband, you can include one thrall, which is the monsters in your warband, when mustering for a campaign battle. They're not added to your roster, and they do cost points like anything else. So you can basically take a dude to die for free. Kind of how I think about that. For each territory dominated by your warband, increase the points you have available to spend on fighters when mustering your warband for a campaign battle by 50. Include the points cost for any thralls in your warband when mustering your warband. Yeah, of course. Thralls are not added to your warband. Can never gain destiny levels. It's basically saying they cost stuff, but you can never make them better. Sweet. All right, have a good evening, Hugh. Grant, good to see you. So that's super cool. I hadn't really read that far, honestly. So I'm excited about that. So that's what you're going to spend your glory on, or one of the things you can. Reinforcements. Players can choose to spend any of their glory points before picking their warband for a campaign battle if their warband has less dominated territory than their opponent. To do so, choose to spend either 1 glory point or 3. If they spend 1, they can increase the number of points they have available to spend by 50. If they spend 3, they can bump that by 100. So yeah, you can. So if you keep losing your convergence battles, you're still playing campaign games, and so you're still accruing glory. And so it's saying that if you're losing a bunch and you just can't get through it, hey, instead of beating your head against a wall and just keep losing a mission, you can spend the glory you're earning to get reinforcements, bump up how many points you can bring from your roster, and get over that hump. So I like that. That's a cool thing. When I look at this, I'm not necessarily like, these are all cool things. I'm just trying to figure out why they have to be in a certain order as per the rules. So I'm kind of interested in that. Let's see. Roll for destiny. Let's see. This is still part of earn and spend glory points. Players can choose to spend glory points in the search of lesser artifacts. To do so, they can spend 3 glory points to make an additional search roll upon the lesser artifacts table. Don't know what that is. We'll figure that out later. It's on the next page. Okay. Make injury rolls. If a fighter from your warband was taken down in the battle, this is important because my guys die a lot. Corvus Cabal, made of paper. Made of paper and dreams. There's a chance the wound will be fatal. To do so, roll 2d6 and consult the table below. If you roll a slain result, you must remove that fighter from your warband roster. If that fighter has a lesser artifact or artifact of power, it is lost. Now, I believe... Okay, yeah, I'll get to that. So, yeah, it's pretty unlikely to happen. You're statistically, you're going to be fine. which I'm not a huge fan of. I kind of like the Necromunda thing of like, your guy got shot in the leg and now he limps and now he moves one less inch, which can suck when it snowballs and all of a sudden your guy's as bad at everything, but it is very flavorful. You either gain favor or lose favor with your hero. Your hero can never die. Let's see. Roll for destiny levels. This is the thing I was interested about. So, as your warband grows in power, certain fighters will begin to carve their own legends and stand apart as destined by the gods for glory. After a campaign battle, you can make a destiny roll for each fighter from warband that was not taken down. So, any survivors. To do so, roll a dice on the roll of a 6. He has gained a destiny level. Mark it on your warband. A fighter can have up to 3 destiny levels at once. Each destiny level gives the following benefit in future campaigns. During a battle, a player can choose to spend one of their fighter's destiny levels to reroll 1 dice during attack action made by that fighter. A spent destiny level replenishes the end of the battle. Okay, so it gives them a reroll. Interesting. Not a huge bonus, but kind of cool. Can be taken away. Interesting. Okay. At this point, you can remove any fighters from your warband roster and add new ones if there's space. Yeah. What's cool about this is you can technically do it if you just have the one warband, right? Because like a guy dies, you pull him off your roster and you put on a magically carbon copy of that dude right back on. I'm going to do something different because I want, some variety and that kind of stuff for the narrative arc. Yeah. There are many items of treasure that warbands may come to require, blah, blah, blah. After each campaign battle roll, each player can make 1 search roll upon the lesser artifacts table, or you can buy more. Interesting. Okay. To do so, roll 2 dice. The first indicates the 10. Okay, so it's a d6. If your warband obtains a lesser artifact, you must decide which one of the fighters in your warband will bear it. Can't have more than 1, but you can have a lesser artifact and an artifact of power. Good to know for the leader. Make a note on your warband roster of which a lesser artifact can never be swapped from one fighter to another. But if you wish for a fighter, basically... Okay, so they can't pass along an item to another guy. I have to destroy it to give... so if I give my hero guy, a hammer, and I want to have something else later on, he has to destroy the hammer. There's no hand-me-downs in the Bloodwind Spoil, apparently. And the artifacts just tell you where they go. So that's cool. I like that. Now, some lesser artifacts are labeled as consumable. These give the bearer 1 use action. Once the action has been made, the lesser artifact is then removed from your warband roster. Interesting. Okay, so you have to hold on to it. Okay. Other lesser artifacts labeled as perishable. These artifacts have rules which are always in play. This means they do not require an action to trigger their effect. However, at the end of a campaign battle, you must roll a dice for each perishable. On a 4-up, the lesser artifact retains its power. 1, 2, 3, remove it. I like that more than consumable. Where I guess there's pros and cons to both, but interesting. Okay. I'm not going to waste everyone's time by going through these, but I am very excited to learn about some of this stuff. So after you're advancing your campaign tracker, it is moved on to a map point marked Artifact of Power or Command Trait. You will receive one of these as described below. Now let's see what ours does. Ours does... Oh, wait. It's based on the other thing. Yeah, where is it at? Yeah, so on our 4th battle, if we win it, we get an Artifact of Power. And on our 5, 6, 7, 8th battle, we get a Command Trait. That's cool. What's cool about Artifacts of Power is those can be handed down. You can pass those off to somebody else. I'm assuming they're just better, basically, artifacts and that kind of thing. And command traits only work for your leader. You can only have 1 command trait. If you receive another, you have to get the old one. Yeah, And it grows even better because then you can have favored warriors, which is basically if your warband receives a command trait, but your leader already has one, you can at that point nominate one of your fighters to be a favored warrior. That fighter receives the command trait instead of your leader in the same manner a leader would. A warband can only have one favored warrior, so any further command traits are discarded. However, if the favored warrior has been slain or removed from the warband when a new command trait is gained, you can nominate a new one. Now, what's interesting, like the way that they're structuring this is that you can I can take one warband and go through the entire hunt for the fire scar, and then I can take that exact same warband and go through the next one, is tooth and claw. Your nothing says that you are starting over, except I assume that you wouldn't have the dominated territories, but your warband and all their junk that they carry with them would. That's my understanding, because otherwise there's no way to get multiple command traits. Or obviously they're going to be adding those things in later, ways to get multiple things. So yeah. Let's see. Choose new campaign, remove all dominated territories. Yep. And that's what it is. And they'll give you an example here. Sweet. I'm feeling pretty good about this. I'm going to go ahead online and print off that the roster thing on the back. So, we have our campaign. It is beautiful. It is lovely. Now let's screw it up. We're playing the Untamed Beasts, and we're also going to carry in the Monsters and Mercenaries expansion. So if you don't know, this is an expansion. I'm not going to read all the rules again to bore everybody, but basically what it does is it slips in some missions. So basically I can do one of these things instead of one of the normal battles. And it gives me an opportunity to try and control a beast and also include a hero. So let me see here. Let me get an example. Just looking for the symbols for my guys. Yeah, this one is, they're a smaller campaign. No, it's not smaller. It's three. There's 3 battles. Okay. Yeah, so this is just a whole bunch of stuff that I can take my warband through once I actually finish the first one. And then you can hunt monsters. And monster hunting is awesome. I'm not sure the Untamed Beasts... Once you conquer a monster, you can then take it in your warband. Like, you can actually field it. And I'm not sure I would actually do that, narratively speaking, as the Untamed Beast. I think that they would want to kill it and offer it up as a sacrifice. But there's even one in here about, fighting an enemy warband. There's the Ever-Chosen. My buddy Jack has the Varangard. We can use those. I'm sure he wouldn't mind. Let's see. Monster hunting... Yeah, this is what I want. So you can also ally beasts in. So let's see. Yeah, I don't think I would take any of these monsters with my Untamed Beast, narratively speaking. I mean, I definitely would if I owned the models. And as far as bosses go, we don't need to have a definite answer now, but be thinking, y'all, about what narratively an ally would be. What cool ally would we have for my Untamed Beasts? Because we got stuff like the Dark Oath Chieftain, Dark Oath War Queen are both cool options. I don't know necessarily if I want them to be lean towards a god in terms of Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, that kind of stuff. Yeah. I forgot that the Chaos section is definitely the biggest here. And then it gives you a second roster. I dig it. Slumbo, master of the slam yell. Yeah, so basically I do plan... I really wish the Korgorath was in this thing, to be honest with you. I do plan to include some of the monsters. Let's think about... So when you see my Untamed Beasts, right? We got this guy. Looking all gnarly, He-Man style. Everyone's kind of like him. And we have the guy who's hucking a harpoon. Okay, got some votes for a Great Bray Shaman. Yeah. I like them. He's cool. Bray Shaman's not bad at all. So we have those guys. What monster would they hunt? Also, I just realized I've been talking about how untamed beasts would kill beasts rather than ally with them, and I forgot that they literally have a lion, cat, goat in their warband, so they're totally groovy with using beasts. Let's see. So the first one would be the Chimera, which would certainly be a cool thing. Then there is the Gargant, a Gorgon, or a Cygor is one mission. There's the Skitterstrand Arachnarok. That one might be out because pretty sure my wife would hate to see an Arachnarok in the house. And then there's a Terrorgeist and Zombie Dragon, which I think I could also get a hold of between my friends and I. A War Hydra or Charybdis, which just sounds so cool. And then, let's see. This one is just fighting everybody. Right? Interesting. What's cool is that for each of these, you basically, the monster missions have some interesting Grand Alliance restrictions on who can claim that monster. Let's see. Yes. Yeah. So order guys get, for example, the Charybdis. Whatever, my understanding, I could be wrong, is whatever Grand Alliance they belong to, they can work in, but not exclusively. Also, can I just point out, I'm very excited for this whole campaign series. Super excited. But the only thing I have against Warcry is so many of the symbols look the same. These two, they look too close. So, for example, the Skitterstrand Arachnarok can be a part of any of the destruction guys. Yeah, anyone can undertake that mission, but so anyone can fight a monster, but you can only use it if you can only dominate it and use it in a battle if it's your own. So, totally, I'm on board. But I mean, all the ones honestly that I would want to take are Chaos anyway. We have Pumbaa, the Razor Gore. We have Chaos Spawn. Interesting that I didn't see anything. I didn't see a mission that involved the Chaos Spawn and the dogs and that kind of thing. Oh, I missed it. So the last one, Into the Jaws of Death, is not your opponent. It is fighting random monsters. That's a cool one. I might do that. I dig that. Just like just buy a box of Chaos Warhounds and go nuts. They have to fight off a pack of wolves. I like that. That's super fun. Okay, I'm on board now. Comment here. Thank you, Iron Blades, for clarifying. You're awesome. Let's see. Doug, did you like any of the 3 sneak peek monsters that they showed this week? I loved them all. The one I'm most about is the War Llama, as I'm calling it. But the guy, he's like a thaumaturge dude. He is super cool. He almost looks like a brute from Halo. You know, the big brute guys with the brute launcher cannon that arcs that I love to use, and my friends all hated me for when I used to play that. Anyway, so I have my books. I'm gonna put them to the side a little bit and do a little bit more painting. And like I said, just think out loud about how I want to do all this. So, what's it? Okay. Murder Llama is the best monster. Yeah, so my plan is I'm going to do a video, make almost like a lore video like I would do for any other faction, but do it specifically for my Warcry warband, right? And kind of like name the characters and their backstory and that kind of thing. And so that way, like, as they're dying and that kind of stuff, you can know basically who's dying, right? It's important because they have a name and they have a backstory and that kind of stuff. What I plan to do, and this is something I want to ask you guys about, is I'm thinking of painting up 20 models, and that's my roster, right? And I have to work with that. If they die, they die. I don't remove anything from my roster. How does that sound? Does that sound dumb? Because, like, you know, for me, I get why they have the whole, like, you can deduct guys from your roster at any time, but they don't have to, like, die to do that. You can just be like, I don't want to play with that guy anymore. But I like the idea of, you know, these 20 dudes are my team, and I have to achieve my goal with my team. You know, and obviously if I reach a point where I just don't have enough guys, like if something goes terribly wrong and everyone's dying, I don't mind, like, building more. It's just a matter of I want to kind of limit the amount that I flippantly cycle dudes out. Excellent plan raises the stakes. Yeah, I guess that's probably a really great way to put it. It raises the stakes, right? Everybody has to, in the words of was it Robert Downey Jr. in Operation Thunder or whatever it was, that movie, he's just like, survive. That's exactly what I want. Cool. I think I'll start there, and if I reach a terrible moment where I literally can't play the campaign, then I'll be like, wow, these weirdly identical tribes people came from were sent as reinforcements. But I don't suspect that that'll happen. Just because, like, I think they made the stakes a little bit too low when it comes to the campaign stuff. The fact that you roll 2d6 and only on a 2 or 3 a dude actually, like, dies. Nah, gotta be better than that. Grant, question. So you plan to endear your characters to us in order to rip our hearts out as they die? Basically, yeah. I mean, the most endearing character, I think, in a warband should always be the leader, the chaos leader guy. And he can't die. He can just lose favor. So there's that. But yes, basically. Because otherwise there's just not a lot of stakes. You know, the thing about Necromunda, to its credit, even though it has a lot of moving parts in terms of, like, the stat lines and that kind of stuff, the thing that it does really well is the fact that because it has all those different levers to pull, you know, you can represent an injury on the table. Whereas this is pass-fail, right? And the margin for failure in terms of, like, when you actually die, very, very narrow, right? You gotta roll a 2 or 3 on 2d6 at the right time. And so, I don't know, I kind of wish that the stakes were a little higher. I wouldn't mind if they were like, this guy is, like, fighting off an infection, so he's -1 to toughness, because you would not be as tough as you are now if you were, like, mid-death, getting mauled in your last fight. So that kind of stuff I think would be cool. But, you know, they definitely made it a game system that's very easy to expand in the future. He's going to Game of Thrones us, exactly. Keep you stringing along. And then that last battle report, I'm just going to make every mistake on purpose. And you guys are all hate me for it. That's how you Game of Thrones people. Let's see. So we need this. I'm just doing some contrast on these guys. Nothing too fancy. Any wildwood. And snakebite. Play against shootcast and get red weddinged. I'm not familiar with that, but and we're gonna have some very, very red shrooms. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, so that's kind of all I'm thinking about. So as far as Warcry campaign stuff goes at the moment, now I do know, I thought it was, I don't know if anyone can confirm because I don't follow rumor stuff at all. I know that there was another book coming out sometime soon. Does anyone know when that is coming out? I'm very curious about that. I thought it was going to be like by now, like honestly. But they chatted about it, and then there's been absolutely nothing. So I don't know if they were like, maybe we should print some more before we say anything, that kind of stuff. As someone who played the shootcast style, banned in our store's narrative league, they're nasty. Oh yeah, shootcast are nasty. It can be. I mean, Jack is quick to point out that there are bad matchups and he does lose games. I think that's important to say. But if you're not ready for what they do, yes, they do it well. Last room I saw was end of December, early January. Thank you. Can hold out that long. I think probably the holiday season is when I'm going to be actually filming this campaign thing. Like I said, I want to get a few games in just to make sure I'm like on the up and up when it comes to the rules, and go through it. My buddy Max and I are going to play a couple games, and he wants to do a campaign thing, so I'm very excited about that. But then, yeah, get that going. Got all the terrains. I got the, what do I have? The core set of terrain, and then also the Sigmarite Mausoleum Graveyard Garden of Moor Bad Parts of New York set. Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. So we're just going to do contrast on everything. I was super messy with the teal back when I had these guys being that kind of blue color. So when we do our highlight layers, though, we'll go back and clean it all up. So that's not bad. People, when contrast first came out, people were like, it doesn't really save time because unless you have perfect brush control, you have to go back and like put the brush on primer basically. And I have found that to not be the case. As long as you work from lighter colors to darker, you can absolutely paint over contrast, and it really doesn't make a difference. So that has been my opinion. You work from the most inner part out, and you work with lighter colors first, move into darker ones, and then any little mishaps I make with my brush can be cleaned up when I put a quick and easy layer of highlight on anything. In the words of Bob Ross, we don't make mistakes, just happy accidents. Let's see. The scariest thing in Warcry I've seen is bringing back spirit hosts on the fly. I have never played against the undead, but you know, it just occurred to me that I have the graveyard terrain. I definitely should grab some of those. Maybe when the new book drops, because it's supposed to have the you know, the existing warbands in there. I might do that because, yeah, I mean, having my warband, whatever like the narrative thing is, walking through a graveyard and they get ambushed by spirits and junk. That sounds cool. Be like, hey, dude, just totally set it up Scooby-Doo style. Just like, are you sure this is a shortcut? Absolutely. And then ghosts just explode and try to kill us. You guys remember that episode of Scooby-Doo. But I feel like that was always the premise of like, you sure this is the right way? What's that? And then mystery begins. And Wildwood. But I'll ask the chat this. As far as narrative gaming goes, what are things that you like to see? And I'll give you plenty of time because I know folks are in the middle of painting and stuff. But you know, Mini Wargaming does a lot of narrative campaigns. At least they used to. I haven't seen one recently, but I haven't watched them that very closely. I'm just curious as to, like, you know, in your mind, what makes a good narrative campaign in terms of seeing units progress, or honestly, for me, it's kind of like NASCAR, where it's just like, the crashes are the most fun part. Just do more of that, right? Where it's just like, you know, I want the action stuff. I want a Game of Thrones people. I want to see dudes dying, kind of thing. Let's see. I saw someone paint the Chaos Underworld team with the dog like Scooby. I love it. Yeah, I'm always curious about that, how I can do things better. So, the army growing. Interesting. Do you mean character-wise, or do you mean like literally in size and like abilities? Because Warcry doesn't really have a whole lot of like mechanics for army development. Like, you know, in Warcry you can get like upgraded weapons and that kind of stuff. And in this, it's just like, no, you just kind of are what you are. You can take some artifacts, some minor artifacts and that kind of stuff, but not a ton of customization. And the tables. Okay. Well, I can do the tables. I can work on the tables in the background for sure. Because what do I got? Right now I have the core set terrain. I have the Corpse Rack Mausoleum. I have a couple of what are supposed to be realm gates from MDF that I can use as altars that I want to. That's how I want to use them. A couple of watchtowers that'd be really cool to incorporate. So I can make some cool tables. Plus, I'm always willing to expand. I do at some point want to get. Maybe I'll have at the end of the campaign the Den of the Dragon will be the Sigmarite Mausoleum. Not Mausoleum. I already have that. The whatever the new Sigmar terrain is that came out with Forbidden Power. I think that might be a cool thing. Let's see, Sean, or let me do them for you. Oh, the terrain. Actually, if you guys don't know, the thing that Sean can do for me that would be super baller is a background. So basically, when I take a picture like low to the ground, you don't see like the rest of my office in the background, having just like a solid wall with a cool kind of generic, I don't know, shadowy background or a sunset or something like that. Because if you don't know, Sean is quite handy when it comes to spray paint art and landscapes. He's very, very cool. Good narrative campaign players are having fun, giving enthusiastic recap after each game. That doesn't mean they're always happy and peppy, rather they are engaged with the story. That's a good point. So, here's the thing. The format... Stormvault, you're correct. Thank you, Sean. I don't know quite. I have a coworker named Shane, and so when I see your name, it confuses my brain a little bit. Let me grab the yellow here. Sean. So basically what I intend to do is play games in the narrative style that I do, right? Like what I've done before, with a few additions in terms of like dice rolls and that kind of stuff. And at the end of it, then I'll introduce who I was playing against, right? It's like, for example, my friend Ben, he really wants to be a part of this, and he's cranking out his Daughters of Cain. And so the idea was we would, do the narrative battle report, and then afterwards, when we're doing the aftermath sequence, I'll be like, hey guys, this is Ben, it's for his Daughters of Cain, looking awesome. Let's see who lived, who died, and so forth. So that was kind of my thought, because I don't want it to be like other battle reports that you see where, I just don't like them. You know what I mean? Where it's just like you're constantly looking at your opponent, looking down, looking at the opponent, looking down, looking at the dice rolls. I want that smooth narrative experience that's not burdened by having to have banter and that kind of stuff. But at the end of it, be like, here's this cool guy who I just had this great game with, showing that we're engaged. Some games will be against me versus me, basically, because it's easy. But they're still going to have the dice rolling and that kind of stuff. But when I do play against somebody else, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. So tell me your thoughts on that, right? Does that sound cool to do my narrative style with other people's stuff, like their models and that kind of thing? We play the game together, and then in the aftermath sequence, I introduce them, see who died or whatever from my warband, and then we can chat about the game. Do a what does Jack say? Realm talk. That's what it is. Let me know how all of that sounds. I will pause to give you guys a chance to answer. There is also an insanely loud frog just outside my window. So yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, like when people talk about like doing battle reports, it's the weird nitty gritty stuff of like, what order is most conducive, like what order of showing things is most conducive to a conversation that doesn't leave people like, what the heck am I watching kind of thing. Jordan, I got a seems legit from Jordan. Does anyone have any opposition to me in that format? Narrative battle report, aftermath sequence, chat with my opponent if there is one. If there are no nays, we will go forward. Let's see. Sounds good. Okay, sounds good. Let's see. I'm just looking at... Aw, Administrative Dice, very kind of you to say. Said everything I do is amazing. That's what my mom says too, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to argue. Life has shut me down hard enough in other ways to let me know when someone says something nice, you say, thank you so much. That sounds awesome. Though when death/major events happens, if you flesh out what happened... sorry, I think there was some typo thing that was weird. There's like a space there. I assume you're using names. Blocked below, but her follow-up struck her heart and slew him. Oh yeah, so like in the aftermath sequence, like give it a narrative spin as well. Yeah, I think that's definitely a cool idea. Because I think that would be a good transition period, right? Of just like the actual, you know, quote unquote narrative storytelling of the actual battle report, you know, ends. And then I go straight into who died, right? And talk about, recount their deaths and how they died gloriously and all that kind of stuff. Where I'm still talking in that very like storytelling, verbose language kind of thing. And then from there we can fade into, hey, and this guy found a cool sword. He found a sword. Whoa, he found a sword? Can I have his other sword? No, because the campaign rules say I can't pass along stuff. We got some dark iron here. I gotta say, I don't care for the orc skin contrast paint on orcs because I like my big orcs to be more olive colored. But I think they look great on these little Gloomspite Gitz dudes. I kind of like them to be a little bit brighter. Solid plan. Run a couple, then review. Get some thoughtful feedback. Yeah, basically, my plan right now is I'm going to do one more one-off battle report. And even though it's not a campaign game, I will go through the motions as far as, you know, assessing glory points and deaths and that kind of thing. I'm going to go through the motions of that. To, you know, for demonstration purposes, and then we'll launch into the campaign. That's kind of my tentative plan right now. I think the only thing that won't be present in my next demo one that I'm doing that will be in the final one is a guest. And then, you know, and the guest is going to be us just chatting. It's very informal. About cool moments in the game and that kind of stuff. So I'm not too worried about that. But basically, I find it easier to workshop stuff and like double check my angles on the cameras and that kind of stuff when I'm alone. So the next test one will be just me again, and then we'll start bringing in guests once they have armies that are ready. Creed camo is great for orcs. I have not tried that one. I tried the Militarum green or whatever it was, the other one. That was pretty cool. I'll check out Creed camo. I like the more drab greens. For some reason, I don't mind the Gitz being more like, you know, kind of a garish green, or very bright. But I like my orcs to be more olivey, drab. That's why I painted 10 more boys and my boar riders, the boar boy maniacs, with the green skin, orc skin contrast paint, and they're fine. Like, I'm not gonna strip them and repaint them because it's not worth. I don't dislike them enough to like undo hours of work. But in the future, I don't think I'll use that again. It was one of those things that I was like staring down the barrel of painting a whole bunch of bone splitters, and I was kind of on the verge of getting burnt out. And so I was like, well, I'll try it if it's a good solution. I mean, it certainly helped me crank through several war bands for Underworlds and now Warcry. So I was like, oh, you know, it's definitely worth trying the orc skin stuff. And just the color just didn't grip me. Which is totally fine. Grant, gotta go. Have a wonderful, it's evening for me, but whatever it is for you, have a wonderful it. Hit my orcs with orc flesh, and then when it has dried, Army Painter's soft wash darkens it down and has a fleshy tone. I have never heard of that. Soft wash. I only recently started using Army Painter products because I couldn't find a red wash that I like until I tried theirs, and I really like it. Like the red tone ink or whatever it is. And I don't use it terribly often, but I do like it. These guys are a fun little warband to paint. If you ever get the chance to paint a unit of Zarbag's Gitz, I do recommend it. So yeah, eventually I'm going to try this format for battle reports in terms of the narrative stuff. And if people like it and they respond well to it, I am going to try a kill team one eventually. Kill team, and then in the future, way down the road, possibly Necromunda. But that all depends on what people like. I just like storytelling with my games. But if people are not into it, that's fine. If you guys haven't seen the tutorial, it's tutorials in quotes in this one, but the demo instructions, whatever like that Becca Scott recently did for Games Workshop, since they launched the Dark Uprising box for Necromunda, you can watch that. And she does a fairly good job. It's a very complex game to ask somebody to do a demo for, or instruction guide for. But, sorry, my cat's pounding on the door because he's freaking out. I can't be in that room! But if you watch that video, they actually do cool, dramatic narration stuff, kind of like I do with my narrative battle reports. And I was like, that sounds super cool. And that's actually what got me thinking about Necromunda. Like, it is also it is more narrative than matched play-y. And so I think that would be really, really cool. Boom, 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 boom. Sweet. I just bought a bunch of Lizardmen Cold One Rider bits, specifically 16 snakes to use as extra snakes for Splintered Fang. That's awesome. I love it. That's the next, I think, the next warband that I buy. My next purchases are going to be the Untamed Beast, another box to be able to do options, where I want to have at least 20 to build a roster with, do some conversions on a few of them. And then, yeah, the Splintered Fang sound cool. The weird thing about Splintered Fang, though, when it comes to the snakes, right? Because don't they have a specific unit that is just a bunch of snake boys? Right? Am I just crazy? Let me see. Warcry. Oh. Yeah, okay. They have a base that's just snakes. Now, when you're choosing your warband, the point where the game in my the narrative in my head breaks is when it's like you can only have 20 dudes in your roster. So it's like, okay, narratively speaking, do they just have, like, let's say you had what, 19 buckets of snakes, because you have to have 1 liter. So it's just like 19 buckets of snakes. We can only have that. Okay, so if 1 bucket of snakes dies, you can't replace the bucket of snakes. I don't know, I just thought that was so weird. It's just weird to think about, like, because they're creatures, and they're, like, by definition with the model, a mass of them. So it's just weird to think, like, you can have this 1 mass and no more. That 1 mass is irreplaceable. That 1 mass can get an artifact. There's just, like, all these snakes working together to open a bottle for a health potion or something like that. It just seems crazy. I love it. So let's see. These guys need to dry. So I will allow them to do that. Oop. And thank you all so much for helping out with planning the narrative campaign stuff. I'll keep people updated about what the plan is going forward with that. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and hop off and cook some dinner for my lovely wife and get her to bed because she's not feeling too well. Anyway, you all stay classy and I will see you next time. Like I said, there's no video tomorrow because of car stuff in the way and I just didn't have the capacity. But starting next week, we'll be back on schedule and everything will be right as rain. So yeah, I'll see you guys Friday for another live stream and hangout and I will catch you there. Have